China ranks second after the US in terms of the size of its commercial aircraft fleet with about 4,500 aircraft. The bad news is that these people are all very price sensitive. So this means that Chinese airlines have very low pricing power for ticket pricing. The high-speed railway is already cannibalizing a lot of traffic on city pairs inside of China. So it's actually relatively cheaper to take the train than to take the airplane. I started my career in the 1990s with Pratt & Whitney aircraft engines, which is an OEM engine maker out of the US. And my first assignment was basically to support Air China in keeping their fleet flying. Air China at that time had one of the highest in-flight shutdown rates in the world. And it had to do with the fact that Air China was basically not doing the required maintenance on their engines. In those days, when OEMs like Boeing or Pratt & Whitney or GE sold equipment to China, we incurred something called an offset obligation, which was basically we needed to either transfer technology or to localize production in China. At that time, I would say the primary consideration was the ticket to sell aircraft in China and engines in China was that you needed to localize something. So that pre-COVID, airlines in China were some of the most profitable airlines in the world because the business model was very simple. It was just keep adding airplanes. The demand for travel was very high. They had better pricing power, and their top-line revenues were in renminbi, which was appreciating against the dollar. And so they were all doing extremely well, and none of them really had to apply a lot of effort to how to manage an airline in hard times. Well, one thing I'll mention about China, which makes it a very attractive market, is China is able to grow the commercial aviation sector based on two pillars. One is that China has a good experience with infrastructure investment. So China currently today has about 260 airports, and in the next 10 years plans to grow that to about 400 airports. And China has no problem with this scale of infrastructure investment. And then the second thing is China has a lot of capital.